This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Ride. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm feeling good, trying to figure if the NBA season ends tonight, and in a way, kind of hoping so, not because I'm rooting for anyone, because that means free agency starts, that means we move closer to the draft, getting ready. So for the Heat to shove this all aside, maybe it turns out that Boston simply is not going to lose more than one game to any team during these playoffs, and that they are what we thought they were.
And by the way, it was kind of you make me feel like Saturday night. Like I'm doing the Panther post game here on the platform, and it's like, yo, guys, relax, dude. It's just one game.
Yes.
They lose one or two games in every series. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just got to tip your hat. You know, they're super desperate. They do have pride. They don't want to go out because if you lose 4 straight and you get swept in the finals, it makes your season look flukish. It looks like you didn't even belong there, and they know that. So, you know, in that fourth game, it's going to be so difficult. And the Mavs and the Oilers, they had some pride. They wanted to avoid, embarrassment. Now, the question is, does this light something up? I don't really think so, because I think the Celtics and the Panthers are just the superior teams, but they're not perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. I think it ends tonight. I think
it's really interesting because the parallels between the two series, like you spoke about, getting out to the 3-0 lead, the other team coming out and dominating a game 4. I do wonder if the Mavericks win tonight, if Paul Maurice uses that as motivation. They said, hey, guy, we saw what happened in the NBA. They let one go, and all of a sudden letting go of the rope a little. I mentioned that in my Ask Ira at sunsentinel.com this morning. So there are very rare parallels. For this reason also, I don't think anyone, Big O, would say that the Dallas Mavericks were the second best team in the NBA this season. I don't think anyone would say the Edmonton Oilers were the second best team in the NHL this season. It shows you always have a puncher's chance if you come around at playoff time. But these also are teams that should be swatted aside. Because besides Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, there isn't much there on Dallas, with all due respect to our friend Derek Jones Jr. And beyond Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Zach Hyman, there isn't much there on the Oilers. So this is when you have to prove that the strength of a team is stronger than the strength of individuals. So I do think the Panthers will be watching tonight to see what an underdog given life can look like. And what you have to do, Boston returning home tonight, Panthers returning home to Amerant Bank Arena tomorrow, you have to squash early. You have to step on the bug. You have to let him know, hey, you had your game 4 moment. God bless you. Now watch us in our building. And here's the other thing. Dave Hyde mentioned this in his column when he went up to Edmonton, and I think it's so much more true in hockey than basketball. You can celebrate an NBA championship anywhere because the Larry O'Brien trophy is just a trophy. It's like when you win the college football playoff. They're holding that big block of glass. No one knows what the hell it is. But Big O, to skate the cup at home is completely different. To skate the cup on Saturday in a eerily silent arena in Edmonton would have had one feel. You would have heard the jubilation of the players.
Not just you're God damn, you're 2,500 miles away. You're so far away from it. Yeah.
But to skate it at home tomorrow in front of your adoring fans, what would have been a 10-minute ceremony in Edmonton if they won could turn into an hour of jubilation and overtime for all the workers at Amerant Bank because of that. So in a way, I think even more so in hockey, winning at home means so much. The Heat were lucky. They've won championships at home in 2012 and 13, but it was so different when they won in Dallas in 2006. They were out of that building. They were off to their party in Dallas with the one shirt, one tie, and even that got wet, and then they went home. So you know what? God bless the Celtics. To celebrate under those banners means something. But even more so, God bless the Panthers if they can skate the cup at home.
By the way, does it give you like flashbacks when you see what Viola and Sifu have done, how they stayed with it, how they built it, and then this weekend when you see 20,000 at the arena in a road game, It's very Heat-esque, right? I mean, it reminds you of how, the dedication of the Harrison family to winning. And these guys clearly saw the blueprint that if we're going to do it, we got to stay with it. And they stuck with it. And now they're building their own following, just like the Heat built us up as a basket. Because the Heat really, I know maybe people at the University of Miami might be bothered a little bit by this, but what helped you is that the Heat culture and making it a basketball town made you then appreciate what was going on college too at the same time. So I think that whole vibe flowed over even into college basketball a little bit. But does it remind you a little bit of what the Panthers have done as an ownership group compared to the team you cover?
It does, but it also more so to me, because owners are in the background. They are what they are. They have the money they spend. It's front office, what they've done. And Bill Zito's bold stroke, which I'm sure if I was doing an accurate Pembroke Pines Panthers report and we spoke about the Huberdeau trade, we might have been a little trepidatious. He was beloved here. He was a career player who wanted to be here, but they realized they had to make a bold stroke. Heat are sort of in that position right now. They're good, but they're not good enough. Does Pat Riley, I never thought I'd be saying, can Pat Riley be Bill Zito? I always thought it'd be the other way around.
Yeah.
But do the Heat have that bold stroke in them now? Hey, that was a big time risk. The Panthers were trending slowly in the right direction, not like this direct ascension, the parabola we're seeing right now. So I think the front office really is what inspires when you make inspiring moves. Look, Pat Riley's done it. Big three, Shaquille O'Neal, even bringing in Jimmy Butler. But you constantly have to be at the top of your game. That's what the Celtics are now. They got Drew Holiday. They got Porzingis. They took off. So, yes, Panthers ownership stayed with it, but Panthers ownership made the right moves. Coaching, which the Heat seemingly always have done, but also front office now with the Bill Zito move.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. By the way, I was trading. I was actually saying you had to trade Huberdeau. So I don't know if you know that, but I was like before they traded Huberdeau, I said you can't win with Barkov and Huberdeau as your leaders of your team. You need a mother effer on the team as a leader.
Who turned Barkov into that also. Barkov, who went to the nice ice follies guy, and then Kachuk showed up, and all of a sudden, he's a rough and tumble guy, a two-way player, take a check, give a check. So, yeah, sometimes, you know what, I hate to use this word, let the Panthers come up with their own, but it becomes a culture thing as well. When you add one piece of culture, be it going back to your day, Big O, with a Zoe and a PJ Brown, or when you add the type of culture with the toughness. Remember when they made the Gabranson trade and they gave up on their toughness and they went for ice follies and they wound up skating in the wilderness? Same kind of thing. So, you know what? The Heat might have delivered this as a basketball city, but in a way, I think the Heat also have delivered this as a culture city. Culture from the Heat, culture from the Panthers, culture from Jim Larinaga, culture from what Dusty May built in FAU. I know you and I in our accurate Pembroke Pines report sometimes have mocked the whole culture cliche because it goes over the top when you put it on uniforms and you put it on courts, but there's something very real about it also, Big O.
No, listen, Don Shula had a culture, bro.
Good
I don't
point.
give a shit you tell me, bro.
He just didn't tell you it was a culture. He just told you it was his hard-nosed, jawed way of playing. The word culture wasn't thrown in.
It didn't matter. Oh, so we have Woodstock. We'll figure it out. Oh, I have Doug Peterson. We'll win 325. It wasn't just about Bob Greasy and Marino. No, dude, you knew the culture would. Oh, we're in the Scabs. No problem. Shula will coach their asses up, and we'll be one of the better teams. And were we one of the Yes, we were one of the better teams. It helped us get to the Super Bowl because he could coach up anybody.
And I'll give you another example of culture without it being called culture. The
That's
U.
by the way.
But also, and the U and what they did at the U with their culture. They called it swag. They didn't call it culture, but it's the same sort of thing. So I know cliches get tiresome, but there's also some use to them when you realize you have to have that embedded and ingrained in order to grow as a franchise. The Heat have it. The U gained it, and now you can see it in the Panthers.
Sid Gilman had it. Okay. Vince Lombardi had it. I mean, it just There's a
They just didn't
culture.
call it. Mhm.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, dude. You know, Holtzman had it with the Knicks back in the 70s. I mean, come on, dude. You get in a role with a certain coach and Belichick or whatever. It was that culture. That's kind of the way it is. Once you have a winning formula, whatever that winning formula is, dude, that works for you, that's where, okay, now that's what Zito has done to bring it full circle.
Correct.
Zito
Toughness.
Zito finds them. He knows exactly the player he's looking for, and it's like human Jenga, and he just plays it perfectly, dude. It's amazing, bro.
The Gus bus. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so what if the Heat is going to make those kind of moves, I think in the end they're going to need the ammunition. So what do we hear about the whole I said this on the show. I think this is going to be an amicable breakup. I think it's going to be a really nice breakup between the two. And with Jimmy coming out last week, or saying, he really wants to stay in Miami, I think that's what you're supposed to do on his end. On the Heat end, you're supposed to say, oh, well, we love Jimmy and we want to work. But behind the scenes, it's, hey, let's work through this and let's get you to where you want to go. But at the same time, let's take care of our franchise and let's do it in a decent way. So I think this will be a breakup, but I think this is going to be a clean breakup, unlike a lot of the shit that Jimmy has gone through, because I think Jimmy also appreciates that he was here for a bit. So I'm almost getting the feeling that there's going to be a clean breakup. So you tell me what you're seeing.
And this is how I would plot it out. If I'm the Heat, I would not offer him the extension. I would tell him we want to wait and put the ball in his court. Then, if he decides that money is more important to him than growing this team, then all of a sudden, hey, this isn't us. We're still paying you. We still gave you that big contract last time. We're still giving you about $50 million for each of the next 2 years. We're willing to embrace you and bring you back. But if at this point in your career, the money means more to you than it does continuing on with us, hey, we respect you, Jimmy Butler. Let's get you that money. Let's get you a landing spot. And then it doesn't look like Dwayne Wade. And then it looks like 5 years of service credit. You get your jersey in the rafters because you've left amicably, which even Shaq didn't, and he got his jersey up there anyway. And you become a part of the team's lore, to where we don't give out, with all due respect to James Jones also, number 22 again. Your number is forever hallowed here, and thank you. So I think that's what the Heat do. I think you cast it as a money decision, not being cheap, but being prudent and being patient and saying, you know what? Like Pat Riley, again, we know agendas. When Pat sat there on May 6th and said, we don't have to do this right now, and wouldn't let Ira Winderman continue to ask his question, we knew that going in, that was going to be his comment. We don't have to pay him on July 7th. We can wait till June 30th next year for that extension, or even beyond. That was agenda setting. So I think that's how you do it. And here's the other part, Big O. I have no issue if Jimmy Butler goes then. You know what? $100 million the next 2 years, I'll take my chances after that. I'll come back here. I'll bust my ass. I'll play so many games this year that I'll opt out and someone else will want me. And then I'll put the screws on you and do it that way. So it could be a win-win. But the Heat did not have an easy off-ramp with Dwayne Wade. They do with Jimmy Butler. Any way of Dwayne Wade leaving was not going to look good. Telling Jimmy Butler and the public, hey, we simply cannot commit to your 38th birthday under a $50 million contract, but God, we love you, Jimmy Buckets. And then you put the ball back in his court.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And at the same time, the Heat kind of need this. They don't need another kind of turmoil type of breakup and those kind of things. Plus, this is the best way to create value for yourself too at the same time, because if there's animosity, then the other teams know there's animosity. Right. And so, well, we'll just wait till everything completely blows up and then you'll have to give them to us, because he's just going to implode, that kind of stuff. So I think this is the only way to handle it, but I think it's really the best way to handle it right now. I don't think the right future is to stay with Jimmy Butler, because you cannot complete your team if you stay with Jimmy Butler. Whereas if you part ways with Jimmy Butler, you almost have a better chance of creating some kind of a better future foundation for your team.
But if Jimmy Butler's willing to play without the extension and willing to have a prove-it free agent type season and shows up for 75 games at the top of his game, hey, I'm fine with that. I'm fine after the crappy season they went through to get a guy who so wants his money that he's going to bust his ass to a level heretofore unseen. Hey, I'm fine with that also. Pat Riley is holding the cards right now. He can play that hand. And Big O, what I like about this mostly is this. While Jimmy's extension window opens on July 7th, they don't have to do anything, but they can start the ball rolling then. They can have creative conversation to where if Jimmy says, Pat, give me the money, I'm going to pay 75, play 75, and Pat will go, no, play 75, then I'll give you the money. And they can go through it that way and work, or else they can also look for deals at the same time, because you don't want to wait till the trade deadline. You don't want to wait till options are limited. You still want to have your number 15 draft pick to put in play, your future picks, maybe see what you need to do or not with Caleb Martin and Haywood Highsmith in free agency. Get it done now. Give your coach who's going to the Olympics when he comes back a full month to know who he has and then move forward.
The only thing with that is, and this is the cynical one in me, I don't think he'll ever do that. Why? Because I don't think he can trust his body. I don't think so. And I think he knows he can't trust his body. And I think the Heat knows that he can't play 75 games anymore. And so I think it's too much of a risk that if he tries to do that, he will damage himself and his chances to get that extension in the end. So that's why I think it goes, either one way or the other, that either he just flat out stays or he gets traded.
But sometimes ego overrules that. And Jimmy's ego might be the other voice in his head saying, you can do it. You can show him, you can ball out. There's sometimes players make irrational decisions that turn out to be very rational. Hey, does Jimmy have 75 games in him plus a full playoff run? I don't know. But I sure as hell would like to see.
I know, but he's made he's even in his, craziness of moving around, he's always gotten his way. So it's not like he's never ended up on top overall. And so he doesn't end up doing it. While he acts a little crazy, his end result is, very methodical and effective. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe Pat Riley's words resonated, and maybe they do fuel him to a different level. We'll see. We know he can get fueled also. We saw it in the bubble. We saw it on the run to the finals a year ago.
All right, so 15th, what are we doing? Edney? Zach Edney?
I like Zach Edey, but there is going to be a contributor there for him. I'm posting a story later on Ron Holland, a player who's expected to go number 1, who played in the G League, great defender, ready to go defender, might fall for the Heat at 15. They can get a quality addition, but do they need more young, or do they need something they can package for something to round out the top 7 of their rotation? So for the next week at sunsentinel.com, I'm going to be previewing the draft. Would not be shocked, number 1, if they trade the pick, or number 2, if they draft a player, we start talking about him, and then come free agency, he's packaged with a player before he signed for another pick. It's a very intriguing draft for the Heat because I could see them going both ways.
Is Edey the kind of guy that Riley, because he loves his big man.
Well, Riley does, but Spoelstra doesn't, because he wouldn't play Whiteside without a bio. So we'll see who holds the cards. But I said this in the story I wrote about Zach Edey last week. If Erik Spoelstra is the be-all, end-all, and he is, and he can make it work with anyone, which he's shown he can, then I do think whatever lump of clay you put in front of Erik Spoelstra, the first thing he does to Zach Edey, he goes, 7 foot 300. No, 7 foot 280. We're going to go for that. Get your butt in shape, see you in September, and go from there. The Heat can add a quality contributor at number 15. They probably can't add an instant make-a-difference player at 15. It's an interesting draft. It stinks so bad at the top of the draft that I contend that the number 15 pick could be as good as the number 5 pick. That's when we'll see the scouting chops of Adam Simon.
Now, listen, Whiteside and Edey, where I think something tells me Edey is slightly more mature than Whiteside. Something tells me Zach is going to be probably a lot easier to work with than Whiteside. So that's where I, you know, Whiteside is what he is. You know what I'm saying? Well, he had a lot of talent.
And that's not my ultimate comparison. And Spo has also made him work with Adebayo alongside Olynyk. He's made him work with Adebayo alongside Myers Leonard. Or they're just looking for the one guy they can trust for the 14, 16 minutes when Bam's not in the game. It could be that also, but they're going to have a variety of options next week on our draft special preview on the Accurate Pembroke Pines Report. I'll go through a list of names with you because the draft is first round a week from Wednesday.
Yeah, I would imagine Zach is a little bit more like Bam, where he's mature and probably has a brain.
I wrote about him last week. Good head on his shoulders, ready to do whatever he's asked to do. Sure. Two-time player of the year.
That's the kind of guy that Spo can work with because he'll be willing to work with you. It's got to be a two-way street, whereas with Whiteside, I just don't think that was the case. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat as he gets you ready for the draft and the Heat's number 15 pick. Ira, as always, thank you, my brother. Hope you had a great Father's Day, too.
I did. I hope you did also. And next week in our Accurate Pembroke Pines Report, we'll go through the draft 2 days before the first round, 2-day draft this year, second round next Thursday. So we'll get you ready next week in our Accurate Pembroke Pines Report.
Thank you, Ira. Appreciate it. You got it. There you go. And at Accurate Pembroke Pines, they are celebrating their 16th anniversary, baby. Get on down there to 15601 Pines Boulevard. And by the way, the ZDX is there. There's it's like a powder blue type ZDX. It's like a little darker than powder blue, but it's close to it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay. You got to check out the ZDX, the electrified ZDX. Gets over 300 miles to the charge. It flies. I drove it. I test drove that thing, and I'm telling you, if it had wings, you'd be in the air. Okay, I mean 0 to 60 like that. It is awesome. So check it out. 16th anniversary sale going on right now. The Integra, beautiful vehicle, 2024 model. You can get it for $319 a month. You could get the RDX for $419 a month. They've got 3.9% financing for 60 months. So tell them that Big O sent you at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.